Planet Sadala, the home of the Scions. In Universe 6, they did not go through the Civil War phase, and without changes, so they did not have access to the Ozaru form. Somehow, this implies a lot in evolution, and they already went straight to the Super Saiyan form. So yes, Planet Sadala is the planet with the most potential in all universes, and I can prove it, but only if you promise to stay until the end. And in this video, there is an insane theory about why this is. You will be left jaw-dropped. Go now, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the bell. Kale from Universe 6 has the berserker form, and does not have a tail, the same form as Broly. So the Scions themselves who inherited the ferocity of Ozaru. Maybe the tail was something to limit this power, and since their bodies could not withstand it, someone used this to limit and control the power of Ozaru. Reflect on this insane theory I made specifically for this video, and again I ask you to watch until the end. Much is said about the real potential of races in Dragon Ball. We saw that each one has its limitations and at the same time its advantages, and over time, we saw the human race, the Scions and Frieza's race, some standing out, and all this potential is being demonstrated now. Krillin, Master Roshi, Frieza, Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. And after that came the hybrids, Gohan being the strongest, but all this in Universe 7. And if I said that the planet with the most potential of all is in Universe 6, and yes guys, Planet Sadala, and I will prove this to you. Universe 6 is a curious and fascinating reflection of Universe 7, as if it were a parallel reality, where different choices shaped completely different destinies. Among all the worlds and races that compose it, Planet Sadala stands out as a central point of power and warrior culture. Unlike what happened in Universe 7, where the original Saiyan planet was destroyed by internal conflicts, and the race ended up migrating to Planet Vegeta. In Universe 6, Sadala never fell. It remained the original home of the Scions, preserving not only its geography, but also a society that, although still warrior-like, took a very different path. So yes, up to this moment, the planet with the most evolutionary potential is Sadala, because we don't know more about others. Anyway, we know all the Saiyan potential from Universe 7, and we are still learning about those from Universe 6. The Scions from Universe 6 do not have tails, which means they never had the Ozaru transformation as part of their natural evolution. This alone already shaped a distinct trajectory. Without the dependence on a giant form, to increase power, they developed techniques, key control, and physical abilities in a more refined way from an early stage. In addition, the absence of the tail eliminated an obvious weakness, the vulnerable point that, in Universe 7, could incapacitate a warrior with a single strike. This biological difference, combined with a more disciplined lifestyle and less focused on conquest and destruction, made the Scions of Sadala become an organized military force, acting as a kind of interplanetary police, protecting worlds instead of plundering them. But what this did for them in such a way is that they themselves have the greatest potential. Think with me. They transformed into Super Saiyan before even becoming Ozaru. That is, Ozaru could indeed be a divinity or something given to the Scions, or something hybrid after the migration of planets, fused with another race, or something made in a laboratory. Officially, neither Akira Toriyama nor Toyotara have confirmed in interviews or canonical materials that the Ozaru has a divine, hybrid, or artificial origin. In Dragon Ball canon, the transformation is explained in a very direct way. It is a natural ability of tailed Scions, activated by absorbing Brutes waves emitted by a full moon, multiplying combat power tenfold. What exists are fan theories and discussions in blogs and specialized channels that explore possibilities, such as those cited here. For example, that the Ozaru could have been a gift from a divinity to the Scions, or the result of crossing with another giant and powerful race after planetary migrations, or even a mutation induced in a laboratory by some advanced civilization. These ideas appear in fanfics, lore videos, and speculative articles, but have no basis in official statements from the creators. In official material, the only expansion of the concept was in Dragon Ball GT, with the Golden Ozaru, which served as a stage for Super Saiyan 4, but even there, the explanation continued to be biological and linked to the tail and Brutes waves, not something divine or artificial. Well, later I can bring some of the theories from around the world, but let's start from the following thesis. Goku and Vegeta taught something very valuable to the Scions of Planet Sadala, which would be the Super Saiyan 1 and 2. Goku also demonstrated 3, and Vegeta showed blue, and everyone saw the Tournament of Power and witnessed some more forms. And this brings us to the following phrase. They learned something to evolve. unlike the Scions of Universe 7, who evolved through Ozaru in the first instance, keeping the Super Saiyan legend alive, but using Ozaru's power, and those from Planet Sadala already use this form. So in terms of potential, they have already far surpassed Universe 7. Since the first appearances of the Ozaru in Dragon Ball, the transformation has always been treated as a biological and culturally striking element for the Scions of Universe 7. The image of the giant ape, awakened by the full moon light and fueled by Brut's waves, became a symbol of the ferocity and raw power of this warrior race. In canon, Akira Toriyama never attributed to Ozaru a divine, hybrid, or artificial origin. It has always been described as a natural ability linked to the tail and physiology of the Scions, multiplying combat power by 10 times, increasing size and physical strength, but at the cost of rational control. This was the basic package of the form. Still, outside official material, fans around the world created fascinating theories. That Ozaru would have been a gift or curse from a divinity, that it would have arisen from a crossing with another giant race after planetary migrations, or even that it would have been the result of genetic experiments conducted by an advanced civilization. These ideas, although non-canonical, fueled discussions and fanfics, expanding the imagination around the transformation. But when we look at Universe 6, presented in Dragon Ball Super, we find an intriguing contrast. There, the Scions, like Kaba, Caulifla, and Kale, do not have tails and therefore have no access to the Ozaru form. They evolved differently, apparently skipping stages that, in Universe 7, were fundamental for power development. In the case of Goku and Vegeta, the tail and Ozaru were part of their history and, in a way, shaped their potential. In Universe 6, the absence of this characteristic did not prevent their warriors from reaching Super Saiyan, and in an even more intuitive and quick way. Kaba, for example, learned to transform into Super Saiyan in a matter of minutes, just with Vegeta's instruction. Caulifla, with her bold personality and thirst for power, not only mastered Super Saiyan, but advanced to Super Saiyan 2 in a very short interval. Kale, in turn, manifested a berserker form that resembles Broly's legendary Super Saiyan, without any connection to Ozaru. This difference raises interesting questions about the evolution of the Scions, and about how the Ozaru fits, or not, into the path toward more advanced forms. In Universe 7, the Ozaru was, for some, an intermediate stage that helped expand power potential, especially in the case of Super Saiyan 4 in Dragon Ball GT, where the golden form of the Ozaru served as a bridge to that transformation. However, Dragon Ball Daima brought a new element by showing Goku without a tail, reaching a state that refers to Super Saiyan 4 in a canonical way, suggesting that perhaps the essence of this transformation does not depend exclusively on the original physiology, but can be achieved by other means, whether by training, spiritual unlocking, or body adaptation. If we apply this logic to Universe 6, a range of possibilities opens up. If Goku, in Universe 7, managed to access a power equivalent to Super Saiyan 4 without the tail, and without going through the Ozaru, then the Scions of Universe 6, with their natural talent for evolving quickly, could theoretically do the same. They have already proven that they do not need to follow the same evolutionary path as the Scions of Universe 7. Their physiology may have adapted over generations, perhaps due to different environmental conditions on their home planet, Sadala, or by a distinct evolutionary history, which eliminated the need for the tail and, with it, the Ozaru transformation. This adaptation may have freed biological and energetic resources for other forms of growth, allowing them to reach higher power levels more easily. The absence of the Ozaru in Universe 6 does not mean absence of potential. On the contrary, it may indicate that they were already born with more refined ki control, which would explain how easily Kaba and Caulifla mastered transformations that, in Universe 7, required years of training and extreme emotional triggers. If we consider that Super Saiyan 4, in the original GT concept, is a fusion between the raw power of the Ozaru and the humanoid control of the Saiyan, then perhaps the warriors of Universe 6 can achieve something equivalent without needing to go through the giant ape form. They could, for example, develop a technique that internally simulates the Ozaru's power increase, channeling this energy directly into the humanoid body, resulting in a hybrid transformation that preserves rationality and maximizes strength. In addition, the fact that Kale manifests such a powerful berserker form suggests that the latent potential of the Scions of Universe may 6 be even more dangerous than that of Universe 7. If this raw energy can be controlled and refined, perhaps with the help of masters like Goku and Vegeta, or even through joint training with warriors from other universes, we could see the emergence of unprecedented forms. Imagine a caulifla reaching a state equivalent to Super Saiyan 4, but without the Ozaru aesthetic, something closer to a fusion between Super Saiyan Blue and primal energy, with wild eyes, flaming aura, and overwhelming physical strength. Or a Kaba who, inspired by Vegeta, develops his own technique to access primal power without altering his physical form, becoming a warrior of balanced speed and strength. What Dragon Ball Daima hints at is that the concept of primal form can be reinterpreted. If Goku managed, in a canonical way, to access a power that before depended on the Ozaru, this breaks the barrier that separated the Scions with tails from those who do not have them. In the narrative context, this opens space for Universe 6 to explore its own paths, without depending on elements that were never part of its recent biology. And, considering that the Dragon Ball multiverse is increasingly interconnected, it is not impossible to imagine a future arc in which Scions from both universes exchange techniques and evolve together, creating hybrid forms that combine the best of both worlds. Another interesting point is that, without the limitation of the tail, the Scions of Universe 6 do not have the physical vulnerability that it represents. In Universe 7, the tail is an obvious weak point, and many warriors lost it precisely to eliminate this disadvantage. In Universe 6, this issue does not even exist, which means they can focus exclusively on improving their combat skills and energy control. This may explain why they seem less dependent on extreme emotional triggers to transform. Their evolution is more technical and less reactive. If we think about the future, it is plausible that the Scions of Universe 6 could create a Primal 6 form, a state that channels the energy equivalent to the Golden Ozaru directly into the humanoid body, perhaps with a denser golden aura and slightly altered physical traits to reflect the wild energy. This form could serve as a base for an even greater leap, leading to an equivalent of Super Saiyan 4, or even something beyond, like a Super Saiyan Primal Blue, combining the divine energy of the god's ki with the raw strength of primal energy. In summary, the Ozaru, although iconic and central to the history of the Scions of Universe 7, is not an absolute prerequisite for reaching advanced forms. Universe 6 proves that evolution can follow different paths, and Dragon Ball Daima reinforces that even concepts once considered fixed can be reinterpreted. The absence of the tail and the Ozaru does not limit the potential of these warriors. On the contrary, it may be the key to forms of power not yet seen that unite technique, control, and raw strength at a level that surpasses everything we have seen so far. Well, I could end the video here, but I have a super theory, and it makes total sense now. In canonical material, the Saiyan tail is described as essential for the Ozaru transformation because it contains the glands responsible for initiating the process, absorbing the brute's waves through sight. Without a tail, the Saiyan cannot transform, and this naturally limits access to that raw power multiplied tenfold. Now, if we look at Kale and Broly, both manifest a berserker state extremely similar in essence to the Ozaru: massive increase of strength, absurd resistance, unstable aura, and more savage behavior. The difference is that they do this without physically changing into the giant ape. This raises the hypothesis that the quote-unquote primal ferocity of the Ozaru, end quote, may be coded in Saiyan DNA, and the tail would just be a switch to release this power in a controlled and predictable way. If we think in terms of science fiction, it is possible to imagine that, at some point in the history of the Scions, a superior race, or even the most ancient Scions themselves, kept the tail as a safety mechanism. Without it, the primal power could manifest in an unstable way, as in the case of Kale and Broly, putting the user and their surroundings at risk. With the tail, the trigger would be restricted to specific conditions of full moon or artificial source of Brut's waves, preventing the body from being constantly overloaded. In Universe 6, where Scions no longer have tails, perhaps this lock was lost through natural evolution or external intervention. This would explain why Kale can access something so close to Ozaru's power without needing the physical transformation, but also why she loses control so easily. It is as if the power were always there, latent, without a biological filter to regulate its release. This line of reasoning opens space for several narrative possibilities. In the past, the tail could have been implanted or preserved as a form of social and military control. In the present, Scions without tails could learn to channel this primal power consciously, creating a controlled berserker form. Something that Broly, in the movie Dragon Ball Super Broly, begins to demonstrate at the end. In the future, different universes could exchange knowledge to recreate or suppress the tale, depending on combat strategy. What do you think about that?